Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to another Burlingame. It's a small town podcast sponsored by the Burlingame Historical Society. This is Mark Lucchese, also known as Mark at the Mic, and my guests today are two longtime members of the Burlingame Public Library Foundation and the Burlingame Library Board of Trustees. Terri Neill is the outgoing president of the foundation, and she has been on the board since 2015. My other guest is Kris Cannon, who has been involved with the Burlingame Libraries since the 70s. Kris was one of the founders of the Burlingame Foundation in 1994. She has served on the foundation and the trustee board off and on for several years. She will be stepping down from the trustees at the end of her term this summer. It's my pleasure to have Terri Neill and Kris Cannon as my guests today. Terri and Kris, thanks for being on the show today.
Thanks for having us.
Great to be here, Mark.
Yeah, we're going to have some fun, right?
We are.
Okay. I'm going to start off with just a general question, and Terri, I guess I'll start with you. What inspired you to join or get involved with the library?
Well, my father-in-law, who was a retired textbook publisher back east, when he retired, he and my mother-in-law became extremely involved with their local library, the local bookstores, and I saw firsthand how the community benefited from their efforts. So when I heard that the foundation had an opening, I seized the opportunity.
Good for you. Kris, same question to you. What motivated you to get involved with the library?
Well, we moved here in the early 70s, and we live very close to the Eastern Branch. And at different times, that branch has been threatened with closing. And I was a teacher and a school librarian, and so, of course, I'm interested in libraries and books and education and information. And the idea of this beautiful little gem of a branch library closing for financial reasons was pretty hard to take. And so I got involved on being on the board at that time.
And those efforts kept the Easton branch open, I guess, huh?
Yes, it was closed for a little while, but then again, that was, Proposition 13 and things like that, and maybe different city people not thinking that we needed two libraries, but of course, we could use more than two libraries. And I think that the change of people and the change of time, in a couple different times when the library has been threatened with closure, the community has really, really rallied and saved that.
And said, no way, we're going to keep these babies open, huh?
Right. And we have city council people and managers and things like that who are very pro-library as This has become a outstanding library.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you both for that. So one question that I always get from people when I see them on the street or at Molly Stone's in the old days, Mark, what's the difference between a library, the board of trustees, and what's the board of, the foundation board? What's the difference? And my quick answer is always, well, the foundation raises the money and the trustees kind of disperse the money or watch over the money. But we can get a little bit more in depth with that. And Terri, I'll start with you with that.
Well, pretty much that's my understanding as well. I view the trustees as an advisory board for the city librarian and sort of a liaison between the community and the library. And the foundation, our sole purpose is to raise funds to augment what the city provides, to ensure that library programming is diverse and plentiful.
Kris, would you agree with that, or do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, we are appointed by the city council, the trustees, and the Library Foundation has a board which elects to their volunteer base and their members. When we started the foundation, there were 12. And now I think you have 24?
We have currently 17. That does not include Brad, the city librarian, and Sarah, the executive director.
So you can take up to 24, though?
We can take up to 24.
So there's openings.
There are openings.
Okay, we'll get to that towards the end of the show and find out how people can get on the board, right? Get on board with the board. Something like that. So, all right, Terri, back to you. What's the primary mission of the foundation?
Well, the primary mission of the foundation is to advocate for the library through fundraising. And again, this is to augment what the city provides, and this allows the library to run all of the various programs that they have.
Thank you. Kris, same question. What's the primary mission of the trustees?
Well, the trustees job is to support the library and to be a connection between the library and the city council. Since we're appointed by the city council members, we are an advisory board, like other commissions, like Park and Recreation or Traffic and Safety, those things. So it's an advisory position, but in many ways, because it does involve policy support of the library itself, we do help to initiate policy changes, review policy, to support what the library director wants to do, directions they want to go in. So it's really advocacy for library and for this library and the communities.
Great. All right, Terri, I have a series of questions now for you on the foundation.
Okay.
What's the primary function and duty of a foundation member once they join the foundation? What are you hoping for them to do?
Well, currently we have 5 committees, and we want each foundation member to participate in one or more of those committees. For example, the 5 existing committees are book selling, donor engagement, communications, events, and finance. And we also ask that individuals step up to lead those as chair people for those various committees. We ask that they attend at least 8 meetings out of the 10 per year. We ask that they bring ideas to the foundation about what events can we have for fundraising, and to be an ambassador in the community. Talk to people in the community about the foundation, who we are and what we do.
Great. And you're the outgoing president this year, right?
Yes, I am.
Did you serve 1 year? Is it more than 1 year?
I served 2 years.
Is it traditionally 2 years, or you just did an extra year because...
It's traditionally 2 years.
Oh, it is. Okay.
This was the first time that we had an executive director working alongside
Sarah Simpson.
So it was a great learning experience for both of us, because we had never had an executive director, and a lot of the heavy lifting was transferred to Sarah.
Yeah, well, that's great. That's why you hired her, I guess.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Speaking of Sarah, she was the first one, like you said, the first executive director.
Correct.
What was the motivation for hiring her, though? I mean, you went so many years without an executive director. Now, all of a sudden, the foundation hires one.
You know, we have to remember that all of us are volunteers. So we have X amount of time to devote to the library, but we don't have oodles of time. And we found that particularly administratively and watching out for our governance and just having somebody to put all the pieces of the puzzle together, we were missing that. So Sarah was actually on the board when we started to have this discussion about perhaps hiring an executive director. She stepped forward and said she would be interested in the job, which was great because she already had a working knowledge of what we do.
Yeah, and she's finishing her first year, or has it been longer than that?
A little
now?
bit over 2 years.
That's terrific.
Yeah.
Good for her.
Yeah.
Okay, so the foundation, how often do you meet?
We meet once a month, except for July and December.
Yeah, and you have 17 members now,
Correct.
currently. How many of those 17 members, how many would typically come to a monthly meeting?
I would say we have about 80%, sometimes higher, participation, particularly if we have a vote coming up. We will say to everybody, we really would like it if all of you can attend. But of course, summer vacations, there are various reasons that people can't attend. We do ask that each member attends 8 out of those 10 meetings every year.
So you have 10 meetings a year.
Yes.
What's the 2 months that you skip? December?
We skip July because of summer vacation,
Right.
and then December just because of the holidays.
Okay, that makes sense. Great. Okay, you can take a little break because we'll go to Kris Cannon. Kris, you are a founding member of the foundation, and you are now a current trustee. And are you still involved in the foundation at all?
Oh, yes. I watched him very closely. We started the foundation in 1994, and it's something I really learned from Alice Gauffier, who was the library director at that time. It was about space planning. If you can get a space planner to come in and look at what you do and that you don't have enough room for that, or your room could be adjusted in different way, that sort of leads to your needs for space, your needs for more in our instance, more that the library could do. And so that was really the impetus in 1994. And then we said, well, we want to expand this library. We want to make it so that all of these new technology offerings can be done through our library. It was really a change. So in 1994, you can imagine that the real estate was starting to go up here in Burlingame. Even then, many people of great resources were moving into Hillsborough and Burlingame, and the support, financial support, was in the community. We could see it, and at that time, the library was really kind of the center. We didn't have this fantastic park and rec community center at that time. So the library was where a lot of people focused their interest and their activities. And so that was a perfect time to say, we want to expand the library. And in order to do that, we needed to raise a lot of money. And at that time, this new library, in 1997 when it was built, I think it cost $14 million for the whole new library.
What year was that?
Well, it was completed in 1997. The foundation started and we had our 401c3 papers in 1995.
Amazing. Wow. How many years did you serve on the foundation?
Well, I think I served 10 or 12, and then I went off for a few years. And then there was a year that was difficult to find somebody who wanted to be the president. As Terri says, this is volunteer work, and anybody who volunteers in either one of these organizations or the many commissions and agencies in the city is somebody who's already doing 3 or 4 or 5 other things too.
Yeah. So what motivated you, or why did you leave the foundation and eventually join the Board of Trustees?
Actually, it was the other way around. I was on the Board of Trustees first, and with Mary Herman, who was another trustee, and Alice Gouvier, who was the library director. The three of us in 1994 were, well, he, of course, is the city librarian, so he was on the board. But we decided to start and see if there was interest in a foundation. Right. So I was on both the foundation and the board for a few years.
At the same time?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a common interest. It's a different focus.
Right. Okay.
The board is more policy and keeping with the city and advocating through the city council and to the city council. And the foundation is really extra money that the city's not going to spend, doesn't have. And so it's money you're raising so that you can do all the wonderful things.
Yeah. Okay. How many years have you been on the trustees, then, the Board of Trustees? I know it's been off and on, but...
Well, I was on the trustees for 12 years in the 70s and 80s and 90s.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I went off and I was on the foundation until, I think, about 2008. I think it was president because they needed somebody to fill that job, and I had done it, and so I was just on for 1 year. And then I went off the board, and we had an advisory board that was real active in volunteering for the foundation, helping out with all the activities and raising money. So I did that. I still do that. I pack books for the book sale, and I take them to the post office and stuff like that. So
when you step down this summer, this will end how many years, though, in succession of being on the Board of Trustees?
I've just been on this board 3 years.
Really? So you're leaving after just 3? Oh, man.
Right.
You helped me so much with my Robert's Rules or Rules of Robert, whoever that guy is. Tonight he goes down because tonight's my last night as chairman, but I will continue with the trustees. But anyway. All right, Terri, you had a nice little break. I'm sorry. Kris, how many trustees are there? How many on the board?
5.
5 on the
trustees, and they're appointed by the city council.
Right. And how often do the trustees meet?
Once a month.
12 months?
12 months.
Yeah. They're not slackers like the foundation where they take a couple of months off, huh? Okay. All right, Terri, you relax. We're coming right back to you and the foundation. What are some of the key programs that are going on right now that the foundation supports?
Well, some of the key programs, for example, this summer we have a Summer Reading Olympics for Children, so that will be 6 sessions. Each session, a book will be read in English and a different language, 6 different languages. We also have Teen Tuesdays, and that will have sessions such as how to make boba tea. I mean, we've all seen these kids lining up for boba tea on Burlingame Avenue. We have paid for upgraded library Wi-Fi hotspots. We have helped fund Hoopla streaming, which we can talk about in a little bit. And so these are programs that benefit everyone from young children all the way up to older adults.
Great. You got some pretty cool stuff going on, that's for sure. So what are some of the fundraisers that the foundation does to raise money for these things?
Well, the biggest fundraiser is our book selling team. So we take donated books, and it starts with curating those books, dividing them into 9 different categories, or actually more categories than that. We then resell those books through 2 annual book sales. Sometimes we will piggyback onto a library event and have a pop-up sale. We also sell those books online via Amazon and eBay, and we sell them to other booksellers. Plus, we have our library bookstore.
Yeah, which the great Mike Nagler manages and takes care of, I think, almost daily, huh?
Every single day he's in there.
He's terrific.
He
He's
is
another one of
terrific.
those great volunteers.
Yep.
The book sales that go on, how many times of the year do they go on?
We do it twice a year. We have one in the spring, one in the fall.
And then there's a little children's book sale too, isn't there?
We just had one June 1st, so we partnered with the Summer Reading Kickoff. They gave us some real estate out on the front lawn, and we set up our tables and sold books. Sometimes there'll be another event. BCE had an event at the library in January, so we partnered with them, and we sold books at that event.
And whatever happened to those author...
Book and author luncheons.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank
you. We operate under a 5-year strategic plan, and the current plan was, or is, I should say, to change up the events. We thought those had gone on for a while, so we started the speaker series where we had people like Ira Glass. We had Michael McFall recently. We had Jackie Spear in conversation with Patricia Arquette. So we tried to change it up a little bit. I will say that we have had some people come to us and say, can you please reinstate the book and author luncheon? So we'll try. That's part of the strategic plan.
Yeah, I think part of the book and author thing is that the authors probably want a little stipend or something.
Some of them did, but I think my recollection is that we would allow them to promote their books.
Right.
So we really didn't have to pay that much, and we were able to attract some great authors.
Great. So as a longtime foundation member, you've been on the foundation 10, 12 years or something like that?
This is my 10th year.
Yeah, and 2-term president.
Yes.
What's some of the challenges that you've faced?
I think the biggest challenge is educating the community on who we are. A lot of people don't even understand or don't even know that we exist. And once we educate them to learn about the foundation, we then want them to understand the importance of fundraising and donating so that we can continue and help the library continue these wonderful programs.
Great. Anything coming up? Any projects or events coming up here in the near future besides a book sale?
September 13th, we will have our second trivia night. We had one earlier this year. It was hugely successful. We've had a lot of requests to do it again.
Great.
And we're hoping to make that an ongoing event.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Kris, you well rested? Because here we
How
go.
fun the foundation is.
Yeah, isn't that good with the trivia and everything? That's cool. Okay. So, on the Board of Trustees, what's the role and the responsibility of a trustee?
Well, I'm sure it's written somewhere, but this is just my understanding.
And that's what I want.
I think it's to be an advocate for the library. I mean, I think it's to really find out what's going on in the library. We have once a month meeting, and the library director, Brad McCulley, goes over all kinds of things with us, statistics, policies. Every month we look at a policy, and we kind of review it. Does it need to be updated? For example, we just updated the behavior policy, and that was as a result of something that had happened in the library. Today, we're going to look at the city cooling center, because the city has this program, and they're asking the library to be a cooling center, because in the summer we often get really hot days and people are adversely affected by the heat. So everybody in the library works here will have a understanding and know the procedure for taking care of somebody who is suffering from heat.
Yeah, this place becomes kind of a refuge, doesn't
really?
it? Sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, I was here one day. I guess the temperature must have been 90 or 100. The place was packed because it was air conditioned.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, that's one of the responsibilities, is to support that. And then I feel that one of my responsibilities as a trustee is to let my friends and people that I'm connected with throughout the community know what's going on in the library. And you get people talking about the library, they'll tell you what they have, a suggestion or a complaint or something,
yeah.
and I often bring that back. And there's always a good answer or a way to solve it. I think another responsibility for a trustee is to be very actively involved. I mean, gone are the days where you just come to a meeting for an hour and a half once a month. I mean, we do all kinds of activities that board members show up at, and it's to relate to the community, and
Right.
It's to find out what's going on in the community, and also to make sure that the library is representing all of the community. You know, this diversity, equity, and inclusion is really something that the library takes on as a very seriously. I mean, we have books in all different kinds of languages, so it's to promote all those new things. I think you have to have somebody who's willing to be involved in the community in an active way.
So you mentioned the behavior policy. Anything else that the trustees have done this year to enhance the library?
Every month, I think, or every meeting usually, we look at a policy. So maybe the meeting before that, we looked at the collection development policy. Why does a library buy certain things, and how do they decide which online services to provide? And it gives you an idea as a trustee where the decisions are made and what's included.
Yeah.
We have been increasing our art. We have a little art sculpture outside, and accepting a piece of art is not just, deliver it to the back door, thank you very much, here's your receipt. It involves a lot of things, and it involves working with the city and the facilities and the artist or the donor. So that we've started that, and we are in the midst of, you know this, Mark, because you're on the committee. We're in the midst of a very cool project. Mike Nagler, who was on the library trustee for quite a while, went to New York, and he came back and he said, the New York Library has these fabulous, and then he showed us pictures, brass plaques that are in the sidewalk, that are not as big as a square of a sidewalk, but pretty good. And then they have beautiful art, and they're brass, and they're installed in front of the New York Library. We talked about what a great thing that is to get people who are just walking by to hello, this is the library, and to encourage people to come in. And this is what the library is about. So we have started a little plaque project, and within probably this year, we'll be installing some plaques, not in the sidewalk because that's too expensive, not beautiful art objects because that's fairly expensive. Actually, the trustees are paying for half of it, and the foundation is paying for half of it.
That's a great partnership.
Yeah. So anyway, that's going to be fun because they're quotes from literary figures, and I think it will interest lots of people.
I think so too. It'll enhance our entrance,
Cool.
the entrance to the library for sure. Yeah. How do the trustees ensure that the library remains responsive to community needs?
Well, that is real. I mean, our library is great. They are looking for community needs. They are listening to maybe an area of town that feels like they're so far away from the library, and maybe it's an area where there are a lot of renters and people not having time to get to the library. Whatever. They are looking for those areas.
Yeah.
And in fact, last year, I think they had a fantastic event at Victoria Park.
Right, down there by close to Rollins Road.
Right,
at the end of
events,
Howard,
actually,
right.
huh?
And I think they had a couple of hundred people, maybe 300 come, and it was quite an event that the library put on. So.
Right, and hopefully we're reaching people who aren't already users. Well, the users should come too, but I mean, the idea is to reach out to a part of the community. Another thing, all this building is happening at the north part of Rollins Road.
I know.
So this may be a whole new neighborhood.
Might be mobile library down there or something. I'm not sure, but it's going to need something. 'Cause
Yeah,
that's going to be
bike,
high
huh?
density population.
We'll get you a bike, Mark.
I love it.
You can.
Thank you. I'll try to ride the one I saw at the entrance
Yeah,
today.
that's very neat.
Yeah. How about sharing a success story with the trustees performed this year? And I'll give you one.
Oh, you do it, Mark.
Yeah. So we remodeled the book return.
The AMH.
Yes, the automatic materials handling, or handler, I think is what AMH stands for. And we were able to come up with some money to fund that particular return, and it came out pretty good, huh?
Over $300,000.
Is that what it was?
And this last couple of years have been hard for the city because of the lack of hotel money.
Yeah.
So the library was fortunate. The Duncans lived next door to the library, and when they died, they left their house and their property to the library. They were friends with Paul Letchich, who was the library a long time ago, librarian, and they created a trust, and this trust was to go to the library, not to the city to decide to spend it on the library, but to the library, and it was to be used not to supplant the city's commitment to the library. So this is exactly a good thing to use it for. It's invested with Silicon Valley Community Foundation. And it should be used when the city cannot, or is not able to pay for something that is absolutely to further the use of the library. I mean, I don't know how we'd use the library without that automated handling.
Be like the old days, right? They'd have a whole station set up, and you return the guy, and it's late, fine. And they don't do fines anymore, right? There's no more fines.
Right.
That's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to move away from, I'm going to take the pressure off you guys for a few minutes. Okay, we're going to just have a little open discussion here. And I wrote down in my notes, the Burlingame Library is fairly large. There's 3 floors filled with books, computers, printers, study rooms, etc. And I think it can be pretty intimidating for a first-time user coming into the library looking for a book, a fictional book, and for summer reading. So what would you suggest to the patron looking for a book? And say that patron doesn't know the computer system very well, and I don't even think they do the Dewey Decimal System, right? Okay. But if you were going to come look for a book at the library, what would you do if you were brand new here? Kris?
Well, first, when you come in the library, there are displays of the new books, the new fiction. Usually there's a table with a timely display having something to do with the community or the climate or whatever. And so that's a good starting place. But right beyond those displays is a big librarian's desk. Every librarian who works here is interested in helping every person who has a quest. I mean, that's what librarians do.
And I think they do a heck of a job of it here. Mm-hmm. Thanks for answering that question. Terri, you agree with that?
Absolutely, wholeheartedly. The staff here is phenomenal. They're friendly, they're knowledgeable, they're, as Kris said, willing to help. And there's another section as you walk in that says staff favorites. Or new releases. And that's very helpful. But I think this staff is exceptional.
Yeah. One of the things I like about our library is, I use Libby quite a bit, but I like to just sometimes find a book and then have them put it on hold. And it seems like within 24 hours or 48 hours, unless it's out and about someplace, that book is there and you get an email and you can come pick it up. Instead of trying to shuffle through these aisles, and I get lost in there. So, but I think that's just a wonderful feature too.
Maybe, Mark, you should try the Easton Branch Library.
I love the Easton Branch.
Because there, it's a very small library.
Yeah. I think the trustees should meet there more than once a year.
Oh, it's just great.
Isn't it great? Great.
That's a
spot.
great idea for the
Yeah.
foundation as well to
Yeah.
meet there periodically. Yeah.
So why don't we talk about some of the other services that the library offers here in Burlingame? And Terry, I'll start with you.
Well, there's for homebound adults, there's a book delivery service, and I used to work within the senior community, and I think that is extremely beneficial for those adults who cannot leave their home. There have been classes on how to write a resume. The Hoopla streaming that I had mentioned earlier, for people that do not have streaming subscriptions at home, if they have a library card, they can come in and download audio, video, ebooks, and it's a wonderful thing for people that cannot do this on their own.
Yeah, that's terrific. Chris, you want to piggyback on that?
Well, having been a high school librarian, I'm always interested in teens, and this library is really remarkable in the teen section. There's a little sign there that says only people between 13 and, I don't know what the end teen is, 19 or 18, whatever, can be in this area. And it's a very full, big room with the newest books and lots of computers and tables for kids to sit at, and they can even use meeting rooms if they want. So I think the teen offerings, there's also a teen advisory board, and a year or so ago we supported the children's and teen librarian, it was a teen librarian, in her interest in the youth poet laureate. And now we have this program that this is the second year, and we have a fantastic young poet who's doing workshops for the kids. So I think it does an exceptionally good job of offerings for teens.
Sure does. At like 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a weekday when school is in session, it's amazing over there. It's packed. A lot going on. Okay, we're getting close to wrapping this up, but I do have one question. Trustees don't usually go to foundation meetings, and foundation folks don't usually go to trustee meetings. Is that right? We don't do a crossover or a visit?
That's correct. I think since I've been on the board, Mark, you were the first trustee to visit. Kris, you have visited when there has been something that you wanted us to collaborate with the trustees. But typically, no, we do not go.
And do you think that that's because we just have so much going on? And,
things change, Mark. Well, there was a time when I was on the board earlier and the foundation was young, just starting, where a board member did go to the trustees meeting, the foundation meeting, and somebody from the foundation came to the trustees meeting. I think it's really important that happened, because while Brad McCulley, the librarian, is a member of both of those bodies, I think it puts us in a more collaborative position, and everybody hears different things. And when you have somebody coming in from the other organization that's focus is exactly what yours is, it's an opportunity to get support for it. I think it's really a good idea.
I think so too. I just know sometimes it's hard to do, but I don't want us to feel like we're rivals. We're not rivals, right? We
not
work
rivals.
Together.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's how we were able to fund some things and make things go. So, okay, Terry, I'm a citizen here in Burlingame. I need something to do. I like the library. How do I become a foundation member?
You can get on our website and send us an email. And as I mentioned earlier, we do have foundation members. When we see a void on our board, we will go out and recruit people. So I think if you're interested and no one has talked to you or tried to recruit you, just send us an email.
Great, thank you. Kris Cannon, you're stepping down. Your seat's going to be open. How does one apply for that?
Well, there is an opening now, and until June 24th, it's available for you to apply. we haven't talked about the fact that our library supports not only Burlingame, but Hillsborough.
True.
The city of Hillsborough
Good
doesn't
point.
have its own library, so they divide some monies from their city town. Some goes to San Mateo and some goes to Burlingame so that their residents can use both of those libraries. So we have on the trustees right now 2 people who live in Hillsborough, and I know on the foundation, when we started the foundation, we had people who lived in Hillsborough. So it's good. I mean, we're such close communities.
We're neighbors, and I think it's a great thing. Absolutely.
So the application is online. Just go to the City of Burlingame, and you can go under library or search applications for library board, and it'll come up.
And that particular applicant should be prepared to speak in front of city council? Is that how that works?
I think so, yes. That also has changed over the years, but
Yeah.
I think right now I forget if they do paper screening.
They have you fill out a few things.
You
There's
fill
a
out
few
a
questions you
paper.
have to answer.
Yeah.
Then you have to go there and
Yeah.
in a room similar to this. And
Yeah.
they circle around and they ask you a bunch of questions.
Right.
But it's pretty basic.
Well, it's to see what you have to offer.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you're really looking to be on the library board or with the foundation, not
Right.
just somebody that wants to show up and be seen.
So many of the people who volunteer in the foundation, I mean, I'm wowed by the foundation
Yeah.
and the quality of members and what they've done.
Well, when you go to these book sales, they're amazing.
Yeah. So
Just
what you
amazing.
can bring to the city and to supporting the library.
Yeah.
When I was first introduced to the board and the idea of becoming a member, I remember so distinctly someone saying to me, "This is a working board. You're going to roll up your sleeves and you're going to work." And that's exactly what happens.
Yeah. What a great place to have to volunteer, though, huh? I mean, the
it's
library,
terrific.
isn't it
We're
amazing?
here forever, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a beautiful building. Outside's well landscaped. There's plenty of parking. It's just fun and a great place to be. I always tell my one of the first things somebody always says to me when they come on the show, "I haven't been in this library in years," and I tell them, "Well, you're going to be a lot smarter when you leave today." Just being in here feels that way to me. So, all right, I'm going to give a little shout out, Terry. A little shout out to your family, husband, kids, grandkids.
Yep. Everybody's great. My grandson is turning 15 on July 1st and playing a lot of sports at Carmont High School. He is an absolute joy.
Great.
Yeah.
Good. Chris, shout out.
Oh yeah, my family is library pro.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Speaking of the great Jim Cannon, your husband, who's here 7 days a week, sifting
can't
through
get
all
him.
those donated books and making a great job out of that. So,
I haven't got something else more fun for him to do. He'll be here.
We love having him. Don't find anything else
no,
for him to do.
no, it's just amazing. So, ladies, Terry, Chris, thank you so much for being on the show today. Thank you for giving up your time and being with me today.
Thank you.
It was great, Mark. Thanks a lot.
Chris,
bet.
it was fun being with you.
Oh, Terry, we're on the same page all the time, huh?
Thank you, ladies. I'd like to thank Kris Cannon from the Burlingame Library Board of Trustees and Terri Neill, outgoing president of the Burlingame Library Foundation, for being my guest today on Burlingame. It's a small town podcast sponsored by the Burlingame Historical Society. Thanks to Kathy and Shelby Lucchese for editing and producing, the great Ray Tyler for video, original music by Bray. You can hear more of Bray at braymusic.com. This podcast was recorded on Tuesday, June 18th, 2024, at the Burlingame Public Library. The Burlingame Historical Society copyrights this recording, and no part can be copied or replayed without the permission of the Burlingame Historical Society. So until next time, everyone, see you around Burlingame. It's a small town.